Greetings all, I am Seminary Scholar, and this is my channel where I discuss the beliefs of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Just to preface, I have attended the Church's seminary and institute programs, and I am going to be referring to official sources in the description, so hopefully this will be an accurate and informed resource for all of you looking to learn more about the Church. Recently, I've been working on my Exploring the Articles of Faith series, where I discuss the Articles of Faith as held by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. These articles are just 13 succinct statements that are meant to introduce people to the more fundamental beliefs of the Church. This week, we are taking a look at Article of Faith number 6, which reads, "We believe in the same organization that existed in the primitive Church, namely apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, evangelists, and so forth." As you may have already deduced, this article is discussing the organization and various roles of the Church. And while I would love to give you a comprehensive list of all of the roles in the Church, I'm not sure I could even get my hands on that. We have a menagerie of different roles. We have leaders of youth programs, we have family history researchers, we have activity coordinators and coordinators who are specifically assigned to specific activities in the Church. And we have a lot of different positions that are in the Church. So for the sake of time, I'm going to break it down into what I believe is the 5 more prominent roles in the Church, most of which are referred to specifically in this article. And those are going to be evangelists, or patriarchs, as they're more commonly known. Then I'm going to work my way up from bishops to stake presidents, then to 70s, apostles, and then we're going to finish by talking a bit about the prophet. So yes, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get right into this. Firstly, we have evangelists or patriarchs. Those are just 2 words that mean the same thing in our church. There's probably variation if you talk to other churches about it, but these are the definitions that we use. And the role of a patriarch in our church is quite simply to administer patriarchal blessings. That's really the only responsibility they have. They don't have a lot of administrative duties. The reason their role is so significant is because we in the church consider these patriarchal blessings to be very sacred. We consider them to be direct divine counsel for our personal lives. Every member of the church has the ability to obtain one of these. You do only get one throughout your life, and it's meant to provide warnings and counsel and advice that you can use throughout your life. Most members have a written copy of their patriarchal blessing that they keep with them. These blessings are considered very, very private and sacred, and so members are advised to be very careful with who they share the contents of their patriarchal blessing with, and under what circumstances. And that is the entire role of a patriarch. It might seem a bit simple, but it's very important to us in the church. After patriarchs, we are getting into the administrative hierarchy of the church, which begins with the bishop of a ward or a congregation in our church. The primary role of a bishop is to serve as a counselor to the members of his ward. Members will approach him with spiritual challenges that they're having, whether it's a faith crisis, a problem with addiction, or marital issues. A bishop is expected to be a spiritual guide to the members of his ward, ensuring that doctrine is properly understood. Bishops are also given responsibility for the individually based welfare services of the church. So when church welfare resources are being distributed to members, they're being distributed through the bishops of the ward to make sure that all of our members are provided for to the extent to which the church is able to provide. After bishops, we come to stake presidents, which are leaders that preside over stakes, which are collections of wards. And while the stake presidents do interact directly with the wards on a certain level, they're more involved with coordinating the stake as a whole and being advisors to the bishop. Stake presidents are responsible for correct doctrine being taught within the stake as a whole. So while the bishops are responsible for their individual wards, a stake president will take account for the entire stake. And they are meant to serve as a higher authority for bishops to refer to when they are unsure of what to do. And also to serve as a second opinion or a more removed voice, because sometimes when you're dealing with a ward, there can be some confusion created by the fact that all of the people know each other, and a stake president can sometimes provide perspective that isn't always forthcoming when you're working with people that you know so closely. A step up from stake presidents are Seventies. Now, it's important to note that there are two types of Seventies. These are general authority Seventies and area Seventies. Both of these types have the assignment of serving as serving in place of apostles when and where apostles are unable to visit. And we're going to talk more about apostles later, but apostles are meant to be special witnesses of Christ who administer and, once again, ensure that doctrine is being taught properly, ensuring that members of the church are being looked after, overseeing missionary work, that sort of thing. The two different types of Seventies, the difference is mostly in how they administer. General authority Seventies will typically be more centralized and work more out of Salt Lake City, traveling to different locations, or not necessarily Salt Lake City, but they will travel and minister to various locations around the world. For those of you who are confused for a second, Salt Lake City is the international capital of the church. But General Authority Seventies will be traveling from region to region ministering, whereas Area Seventies are given stewardships of a specific area of the world. Once again, areas are collections of stakes, just like stakes are collections of wards. And these Seventies are the ones who are responsible for training stake presidents in the doctrine of the church and making sure that stake presidents are up to the responsibility of overseeing an entire stake. After the Seventies, we come to the apostles. In our church, we have a quorum of 12 apostles, and these are men who have been called for the remainder of their lives. There is no end to an apostolic calling other than dying. And so it's considered a very significant thing for this to happen. All of the apostles are sustained as prophets, seers, and revelators in the church, which means they have the ability to receive and confirm revelation, and bestow apostolic blessings, which are just blessings that are given by apostles, just like patriarchal blessings are blessings that are given by patriarchs. Although apostolic blessings are usually much more general and given to groups of people. Although they do share that commonality of they are typically predicated on certain actions that people take, or choose not to take, as the situation may be. But the thing that you should remember about apostles is that, as I mentioned before in the section on the 70s, apostles are called to be special witnesses of Christ and to preach his doctrine and to sustain his work on the earth. And that is their primary calling, is to be witnesses of Christ. Finally, we have the prophet of the church. It's important to note there is a difference between a prophet, because as you may recall, I just mentioned that all of the apostles are sustained as prophets, seers, and revelators. There's a difference between a prophet and the prophet. A prophet is someone with a particular ability or mandate to testify of Christ, and the prophet is the president of the church who acts as the Lord's mouthpiece, we believe, on the earth, who is authorized to receive revelation on behalf of the entire world. Although it is worth noting that though the prophet is the only one who has authority to receive revelation, it has to be corroborated by the 12 before it is considered doctrine. So if a prophet makes a statement, it is not considered doctrine until it has been sustained and reinforced by all of the members of the 12. And I understand that this might be, that there has been some trepidation in certain circles about the prophet having too much authority and being able to just issue orders to the saints that may not necessarily be in the best conscience. But it isn't as simple as that. There are fail-safes to keep people from simply making decisions on behalf of the entire church and expecting them to follow. The revelation received by the prophet does have to be corroborated by the 12. But yes, that is the role of the prophet, and that brings us to the end of our list. Thank you for watching today. We have discussed today we've discussed some of the major roles in the church, including the roles of patriarch, whose roles are to give patriarchal blessings, and the roles of bishops, who are to serve as counsel to the members, stake presidents who serve as counsel to the bishops, and area 70s who serve as counsel to the stake presidents, and then apostles who serve. And then we have the apostles who serve as special witnesses of Christ, and the prophet who receives revelation on behalf of all of the earth. Yes, thank you very much for watching. If you found this video helpful, I would encourage you to subscribe. And I will be getting another video like this out next Friday. So if you are interested, give me another look then.